as an industry veteran, what do you think should be the strategy when it comes to the tariffs on the pharma sector that are in the offing, and how do you think India is poised to deal with it?
So I personally believe that India is in the midst of bilateral trade agreement discussions, and I'm sure that they are basically negotiating their way out of many of the tariff areas, and of course pharmaceuticals is one of them. I believe that India is a very important part of their supply chain for generic medicines, and I think we provide a very huge backbone for health security. So I think we should see if tariffs are done away with, because it would mean that you will unnecessarily increase drug prices when you know that drug prices need to be contained. So I'm sure they are in discussion to see how they can minimize the impact of tariffs on a segment like pharmaceuticals.
Ma'am, using that as actually my next question, what policy interventions or trade strategies do you believe are probably the most effective to protect the sector's global competitiveness?
I think India is a very important part of the health supply chain. And I think if you look at the pharmaceutical supply chain, where even in the US, India provides 40% of their generic medicines. And we have a very large global share of generic medicines. And I think countries look to secure and reliable supply chains. And I think India has that reputation of being a very secure and robust and reliable supply chain. So from that point of view, I think when we are playing such an important role in providing global health security through affordable medicines, I think we should have a very strong position in being a very integral part of global healthcare.
And beyond tariffs, what are the most urgent regulatory or market access challenges that you think are facing India Pharma in the US and even in the EU in 2025?
I think we need to look at our own regulations, which I think need to speed up. I think regulatory reforms are coming in the US and in Europe, where we are clearly seeing that technology is playing a very important role to speed up drug approvals. You just heard, in the US, the new FDA commissioner saying that they're going to actually speed up drug approvals. He has actually called for a very different way of developing drugs for rare diseases. He's talked about doing away with animal testing and using organoids and, cell in vitro and in silico methods to establish drug safety. So I think we also need to really emulate that rapidly. We should not be taking so long to approve drugs. We should not go about it in a pedantic manner. We too need to use technology to rev up the drug development and drug approval processes.
I wanted to ask you about the promotion of more women in pharma and STEM specifically. What do you think are the kind of opportunities that await, and what are the changes that you'd like to see more women just like you?
So we are seeing a lot of women in STEM, and we are seeing a lot more women in the pharmaceutical sector. I, for one, know that there are a number of very strong women leaders in pharma. Mahima Datla at Biological E is one of them. In the past, Swati Piramal has played a very important role, and now her daughter, Nandini, is playing a very important role. So I think we are seeing a lot of women coming into the fray. I think what has kept women back in the pharmaceutical sector was really the fact that at a sort of worker level, we've seen that the regulations surrounding women working around the clock has been very difficult. But that's actually changed. And we are seeing a lot more women teams in manufacturing. Even in marketing, we are seeing a lot more women. And I think you will see a greater representation of women in at least the pharma world. But in the R&D world, you are seeing a lot of women.
Yeah.
Because every, I think, company will have a large representation of women in their R&D departments.
And my last question to you, ma'am. What has been your biggest takeaway from Waves so far, and what are you really looking at in terms of expecting it, the expectations that you have from this summit?
I'm very excited with Waves. I think it's a launch pad for creating a very large orange economy, as the Prime Minister describes it. It is a creative economy. And I think that's what the world is really looking to do. Because, when we are being faced with AI and other threats of technology, I think a creative economy can battle that and use AI and technology to further it. So to me, creating a creative universe is what the opportunity is. How do you look beyond just the film and creating a large universe, of a creative universe in which you create a large brand, a large franchise. And the example I give is how the Lord of the Rings has created a huge creative economy for New Zealand. If you look at Harry Potter, it's created a large universe for the UK creative economy. India needs to find those opportunities. Bahubali could be one of them. How do we create that into a bigger opportunity? But there are many other such opportunities. So every film that we think is a potential blockbuster, we need to think beyond the film. We need to create that universe beyond the film, and which creates the large creative opportunities in theme parks, in brands, in franchises. That's how we have to look at this creative economy.